Good evening and welcome to another fabulous episode of Celtic Connections. We are continuing our series of making a play, and tonight is very exciting because we are talking to our two stars of Sea Marks, Kelley, who plays Colm, and Kristen Tripp Kelley, who plays Timothea. And it's exciting for me for this episode. I mean, I guess they're all exciting, but Chris and Kristen are dear friends of mine, and the three of us have worked many, many, many times together on stage, directing each other, acting with one another, and now here we are in this Zoom forum. So it is my distinct pleasure to introduce you to Kelley and Kristen Tripp Kelley. I am sure you have recognized both of them from many of our ICTC productions, and today we're going to talk a little bit about what goes into the world of acting. So Kristen, I'm going to start with you. Just let us know in a few sentences, if it can be whittled down, what does an actor do?
Okay, well, it's a bit like playing make-believe with some technique thrown in for good measure. We use our imaginations to step into a character and try to share that character's humanity with the audience.
That's great. Yeah. Chris, do you have your own alchemy to add to what Kristen says? How does it differ for you?
My what?
Your alchemy.
Yeah, I already can't handle it. What she said, no. Yeah, I'm not sure who said it. It certainly wasn't, but I think it's very true, the statement that acting is behaving truthfully under imaginary circumstances. Using your mind, your body, and your voice to create a hopefully believable character, and using the script and working with whoever the director is to assist and fit into their vision of the world of the play.
There's a lot that goes into it, right? And there's so many different techniques. I mean, we could have an entire series just on acting techniques alone, and the three of us could speak for hours about it. But living truthfully through imaginary circumstances, playing make-believe, throwing some technique in, all of those things add up to an actor's performance. You are both extremely gifted and award-winning actors. And when I say actor, I also mean actress, but we just use that blanket term. So as actors, it helps to be an actor as you are directors as well. You're both extremely accomplished and award-winning directors, both at ICTC and at many of our sister theaters. And you have been in this game for quite a while. You've worked together many times. Kristen, how did you get into the world of acting? Tell us a little bit about your background.
I didn't have a lightning bolt moment when I decided I wanted to be an actor. It's just something I've always been drawn to. My mom loves to tell this story about the day I was born, that at the moment when she was pushing me into the world, a curtain was parted to reveal a room of resident doctors who were there to watch the delivery. So she says that was my first audience. And
that's wonderful.
And then I was looking for ways to get on stage, really involved at school, pulling the neighborhood kids in to do shows in my backyard. And then when I got to high school, decided this is something I wanted to do seriously, that I was going to try to make a life out of it, and decided to go to college for theater. And that's where I met Vincent, actually. He was my very first acting teacher at UB.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, important impact.
Absolutely, on us all, right? The three of us have that in common. And did you meet Chris at UB?
That is where I met Mr. Kelley as well. Yeah, we were in, I think it was a movement class. Do you remember, Chris?
I remember the class. I couldn't tell you. I feel like it was a character movement class with something. I'm not positive.
Yeah. Maria Horn was the teacher. And I remember the first improv I did with Chris. It was really intense, based on our portrait characters. Yeah, so we have a history together. Sure.
I love this so much, because as the series and various series throughout Celtic Connections have progressed, we are continuing to connect the dots for our patrons of just how long all of us have known each other and worked together. And here we go with another testimony. Chris, did you start acting at a young age or come to it a little bit later?
I remember my parents we used to go to Ocean City, Maryland growing up in the summers, and there was this Parker Playhouse on the boardwalk in Ocean City, Maryland, and they did children's theater, and they would do they had like a rep in the summer. You could go on a different day and see a different show, and it was a small theater, almost like I could only compare it to the size of maybe the old Toy Theater, which is now the Buffalo Chop House. Like that kind of small, intimate theater. And I just remember falling in love with it. But I don't think I came back to it for a long time seriously until high school, though I did go through a period of begging my dad to rent video cameras and directing films and shows, and the same sort of madness. But yeah, it was in high school that I really seriously got into it. And I saw at Upstage a production of Godspell that Kelley directed. And there was just something about that was really magical that I think sort of sealed the deal for me. And I went on to study at the College of Worcester for a while in Ohio, and eventually finished at UB, where I did have, that class with Kristen, and we did that scene together, and then never acted together again for like 10 or 15 years. Like never again. And well, we shan't get into the next time we acted after that. But yeah.
Chris, this is also where I met you at UB in a class as well. And Kristen, I met you right at the end of my time at UB. We were in our production at Irish Classical. It's the first time that we performed together, our first of many, many times. All's Well That Ends Well, directed by Paul Todaro. Patrons may remember that. That was a long time ago. So we are working on decades, the three of us here. But here we are in 2020, and we are working on C-Marks. C-Marks opened the Calumet space and with Vincent and Josephine, and now we are so happy to be revisiting it with Fortunato as director again, with Tom McCarr as sound designer again, but now with the both of you as Timothea, some say Timothea and Colm. And had you known of C-Marks? Kristen, were you familiar with it?
Yes, because I saw that production, the Calumet space.
Wonderful.
I think I was a freshman or sophomore in college, and I knew about it because of Vincent. He advertised it to the class. And it was my first time seeing both Vincent and Josephine perform.
Wow.
And I was way impressed.
I'm sure.
Very impressed and taken with their chemistry. And I remember being very drawn in by the language and the love story. And as an added fun fact, Ray Kelley, my husband, was working as house manager at the time. This was before we were dating.
Oh.
And, we put it together that he probably sold me my ticket. And when I shared that I would be part of this production of C-Marks, he was really excited. He remembered the production so well, and in fact started to quote the play a bit, because as house manager you get to see the production so many times. So, yes,
it's so beautiful. So I love it. Chris, were you familiar with it?
Never heard of it.
But you had heard of Vincent and Josephine, I'm sure, and the Calumet space.
Who? No. Yes. I heard of it. I didn't see it. I think the first time, honestly, that I was in the Irish space was when I did some like a season audition for Irish, the season that Irish did Daw and Dangerous Liaisons.
Mm.
You know, they're two great parts of Dangerous Liaisons, by the way, Kate. Just saying. Anyway, getting that in there.
A little plug.
I've heard the title. I've seen photographs of the two of them in it, I feel like, or poster.
Yeah,
around.
there's a photograph in the lobby currently from C-Marks. And you memorize those photos standing in the lobby so many times waiting to go on for your cues. And I didn't realize it was from C-Marks. But I think that's what's so cool. I mean, now we're talking about our 30th anniversary season and moving forward. And I feel like these touchstones are there. They are like woven into the fabric of the company. And when we were looking to move into our digital production and keeping within our retrospective theme for the season, C-Marks just fit perfectly because of the genesis, because folks would remember it, and also because it deals with isolation and communication through isolation. And that's look at us, right? We're speaking through Zoom. This is something that we know so intimately now. As we are, talking about the two of you having worked so long in so many different and various ways, and now working on C-Marks, what are some of the benefits of working with actors over and over again? I'll start with you, Kristen.
It's a gift because you don't have to spend time at the beginning of the rehearsal process trying to figure the other person out and build a relationship. You just get to hit the ground running. I already know that I love and trust Chris Kelley. I love to be on stage with him.
I second
he's smart. He's a great listener. He's supportive. I really feel safe with him as my partner. And when you told me I would be doing this project with him, I teared up. Dream scenario to come back to work with someone I respect so much.
It feels like returning home. I also know that feeling intimately. Oh my God. How excited I was about it.
You.
I was doing so well. Okay, edit that out. But it does. It feels like returning home. I mean, my gosh, Arms and the Man, Kristen, that was our next production together, and that was eons ago. Chris, we've worked so much together. Do you feel the same way, Chris, just returning to your favorite partners?
I feel like I vaguely remember this woman. Yeah, so obviously, yes. I was trying to, while she was talking, like write down the different shows we've done together and the different relationships we've had in these shows. I will name Blithe Spirit as the first professional show that we did together, playing husband and wife. And I think after that would have been what, Kristen?
After that was Beauty Queen?
The Beauty Queen of Leona.
Yeah.
That would probably the next one, and maybe An Ideal Husband.
Right.
I feel like there's something else that I'm forgetting.
Minding Frankie?
He directed.
Worked on it together. Yeah.
So we were
right. So you were weaving in, acting with one another and directing with one another.
Well, yeah, but thinking like the times that we've played a married couple is at least 3 or 4. We also did a show, The Country House, where there was an attraction at Real Less Traveled.
That was a great show. Yeah, loved it.
Something, yeah. What else am I
forgetting?
Seedbed, yes.
Yeah, husband and wife and Seedbed.
Husband and wife. So at least 3 or 4 times, husband and wife, and then at least once with some sort of attraction. So originally thinking about this upcoming season, unless I'm mistaken, I think it was going to be one of those seasons that we weren't going to work on anything together potentially, which is always a bummer. So unfortunate how this came about, but really awesome that we get to do this. And I will be very honest and transparent and say that this has been just a strange time in all of our lives, and part of me was really, really, really reticent to jump into something like this, and wasn't sure how I felt about it. But when I asked, I said, well, who are you going to ask to play the woman? And Kate said, Kristen. And I was like, oh, fuck. Well, I guess I'm going to have to do it then. All right. Can't say
You did. You did. You did. Well, it's a match made in heaven, and we at ICTC, of course, have all worked together so much. Fortune, it was the dream team, and I'm so happy that it worked out. And speaking of all of these different productions, do either of you have a favorite ICTC production? It's hard to narrow them down, but I'm curious. Kristen, what about you?
Yeah. Definitely Beauty Queen of Leona. I mean, when I talked to the folks who worked on that production, we all kind of agreed that we would go back to it in a heartbeat. It was just this perfect storm, starting with the script. So beautiful, so dark and complicated. Vincent knocked it out of the park with direction, and the cast was so wonderful on stage and in the dressing room. Chris and Adam Yellen and Josephine. And I remember even the folks working backstage behind the scenes were so right for this project. Matt Reformat was working on the show. Michelle Eisen was stage managing. And it just felt like such a family. And there are some shows in which you're kind of happy to step away, and that one, it's not one of them. I could have kept running it for quite a long time.
I love that feeling that you speak about of just knowing that it's a family and that it's just right, just the cards laid in a certain way that just brought all of the right people there at the right time. And I can definitely speak as an audience member from seeing that production that it felt that way in the audience. That is one of my absolute favorite plays. Certainly one of my favorite Irish plays. I had seen the production at Studio Arena, which Vincent also directed, with Josephine and Pat Multaine, and a wonderful cast there too. And this production, it's your production, the intimacy of it and the danger of it and being in the Andrews. Oh man, I can still picture it so vividly. And that's a true testament to the atmosphere of the production, because gosh, how many shows have we seen in there and been in, and even outside of the Andrews, but I can still see it so clearly. I can hear the gravel of the outdoor entryway, and yeah, it was completely immersive. So I'm happy that you chose that one. Chris?
Yeah, the set was, I should have mentioned the designers. The set was fantastic.
It was incredible.
It was fantastic, yeah.
In fact, we did a nod to it, Jess Swegren and I, for Hamlet, the sound of it, to have that soundscape, that organic soundscape as well. It's just, Brian Kavanaugh did the set design for Beauty Queen, and just loved that aspect of it. Chris, what do you think?
That I've been in, I mean, I wholeheartely agree that Beauty Queen Leona would be my favorite show that I've acted in at Irish, certainly. Yeah, I would go back to, I would do it. There's so many shows, as Kristen said, that it's hard, you imagine like people who are in touring shows for a living, or who are in a Broadway run for a year or something. And I think of some of the shows that we do around here, and I'm like, I can't imagine doing this for another week, much less, a year. But that's something that I really feel like, I could go back next week and just start doing it and just continue to do for just an infinite amount of time. Yeah, there was just something about all of it that just felt really lived in, and which is a strange word to use, but warm, and just, yeah, like living in that environment, working with Vincent. Also too, if we're gonna be transparent and candid, it's my favorite kind of show. I was not on at the beginning. I had like it would be like places, and I'd be like, okay, everyone's leaving the dressing room. I have time to relax.
Extra time, yep.
I can slowly, mindfully get ready. go out, do these 2 scenes, change, do this long letter at the beginning of Act 2, and done. And done. Like done. So that was really cushy too. But yeah, it was just a beautiful experience. And I would say, I'm sure there's so many options I'm not thinking of, but A Servant of Two Masters is a favorite, being in the audience for, as well as I think translations, just off the top.
Oh yeah, that was so beautiful too. Kristen, you were so wonderful in it. You know, it's incredible just like recalling these so viscerally. I mean, Kristen, when was Translate? It was around the time of Arms and the Man, I feel like. Wasn't it kind of around those same years? Early 2000s.
Long time ago.
Yeah.
I don't know how to keep track anymore. I'd have to go to a program to find the date.
Yeah.
Or
yeah,
no, now we can use internet. We can do searches on the internet.
We could do the digital catalog. You know, it's funny, if we had this interview on a different day, our answers may be different, but there are those like one or two, there's only like one or two productions that you just, a part of your heart is still there with them. And I'm sure our patrons can recall each of those that we just brought up, and we will continue to work on these productions and create more wonderful aspects and experiences for our patrons. But it's been really wonderful to live back through some of those productions with the both of you. And I respect you so much as colleagues and artists and friends, of course, and co-workers, and being part of the ICTC family. So thank you so much for spending time with us. And I hope that the patrons have enjoyed visiting with Chris and Kristen, and tune in as we continue with Celtic Connections. And we hope to see you again next Friday, same Irish time, same Irish channel. Good night, everyone. Be well.